Welcome to a professional learning course on time management. This course is part of a planning and executing series that Talent Development has put together for this year. And in our time management course, we are going to be learning today how to prioritize, organize, and sustain our work to be most effective in our jobs. So think about today, what motivates you to be here? Why have you decided to take this course? And from there, we will jump in. You know, everyone thinks about time management in a different way. I know over the years I've tweaked and evolved all of my systems to be more effective in how I manage my time. And we'll talk more about today some tools that can help you do that more effectively. I also know that over my career, time management and what managing my time looks like has been different depending on the role I'm in, my job responsibilities, and also my priorities outside of work. And so we'll talk about that and how we make space for sustainability for each of us and what that can look like. So our big objectives today, you are going to walk away knowing how to think about your big rocks, and I'll talk a little bit more about those. And how to track them to kind of keep you focused in. We'll also talk about how to schedule our time and to make space to check in and adjust each day. We are working this year in school year 2020-2021 in unprecedented times. We must not lose sight of the fact that we are operating in a pandemic, and different things are going to crop up in a day that might not have been on your to-do list the day before. So we just have to, I think an important part of managing our time is recognizing that there are going to be times where our plans do have to go out the window a little bit, and we need to build in the flexibility to adjust along the way. And then, as I alluded to earlier, you will walk away with some ideas about how you can create sustainability in your work. Working in a public school system, serving students and families every day is ambitious, big work. And it's a marathon sometimes and a sprint. And so we just want to recognize that and create space to find balance in our lives. So before I get started, one thing I always like to talk about are our norms for the training, and that would include being open and willing to learn from one another, being participatory. That can mean engaging in the chat function or raising your hand or unmuting and answering questions along the way. Asking you to kind of shut down that email, turn off those text alerts, and be really present throughout this training, and respecting opinions and contributions of each other, because we are all here to learn and to teach one another. I don't have all the answers. If I did, I would be off selling my secret sauce to talent management. But I think I have some good ideas, and I'm sure you all have a lot to contribute to. So before we dive in, I want to share this quote from Stephen Covey, and some of you out there are probably fans of his or have read some of his books. And this is really to ground us in the idea of big rocks. So Stephen Covey writes, "Your life has big rocks and little rocks. Pour the little rocks in first, and you can get them all in the jar, but you won't be able to fit the big rocks in. Put the big rocks in first, though, and then the little rocks will naturally fall into the remaining space allotted. You can fit nearly everything in if you take care of the most important stuff first." And so this idea about identifying our priorities and tending to them first is really one of the foundational pieces of time management. So I am asking each of you listening today to think about your big rocks. And I'd like you to reflect for just a moment. Do you know your big rocks for this week? Jot them down on a piece of paper you might have handy. And I'm going to give you a few seconds to do that. Do you know your big rocks for this week? And so as you're kind of wrapping up that, I want you to pause for a minute and just think about, first of all, how easy was it for me to write down my big rocks? Did I already have them handy? Was that a simple exercise where I just jotted them down? Or did I really have to kind of take some time to reflect on my work streams and decide what those were in the moment? And the reason I call that out is because being able to ruthlessly prioritize what our big rocks are in a given week or a given day, depending on what slice of planning you're doing, is, per Stephen Covey's quote, critical to being able to manage our time. We have to make space for those big rocks first, and we have to track our to-dos. So I want to offer you a couple of tools and strategies for doing that. What you see here is a daily to-do list. And what I really like about this list and the way it's not just a one big laundry list of items, this tool breaks out our daily to-dos into 4 areas. It asks you to jot down your big rocks. And you see there's not a ton of space there. I mean, 2 or 3 big rocks, or 1, depending on the size of your project, in a day is plenty. It gives you space for other action items. So sure, we have our big rocks, but then we have medium or small size rocks too. And what else do we need to get done? Each of us knows that in our daily work, we have quickies or 2-minute tasks, shoot out this email, double check this, approve that requisition, whatever it is that we can get done pretty quick, but we need a place to record those so they're not just all crowded in our brains, crowding up our thinking space. And I think that kind of ties to the idea of the small rocks kind of fitting around the big rocks, but we have to capture them somewhere. And then I think the waiting for area is really helpful because so many of us do interconnected, interrelated work. We collaborate, which is one of our core values and is super important. But sometimes that means that we're waiting for something like a document back or feedback from someone else or this or that to get approved. And so those are maybe smaller rocks or maybe they tie into big rocks, but we want to have a space to capture that so we can stay organized and focused. So I really like this tool. I really highly recommend giving it a test drive or tweaking it to fit your needs. Another tool I want to share with you today is a weekly plan. So we just kind of zoomed in on a day and thought about prioritization and how we kind of organize our day. This tool is a weekly planning tool. And what I really like about it is it has space to kind of jot down to-dos, big picture wise, for each day. It has a space, as you see here, for big rocks and intentions for a given week. It also has a space for kind of the quick emails, calls, little things, the little rocks that you need to get done. And I like this 3x3 or 2x3 box area for projects and people. So you can kind of keep your eye and your thumb on all the different people or projects you have going in a given week. I love the box save for next week, and that kind of helps with the ruthless prioritization, right? If it's not essential for this week, can it go to next week? And a box to recognize that we all have personal lives and things that we need to attend to, and let's make a space for that in our weekly plan. So I really love this tool. I recommend it. And I recommend the daily to-do list as well. Both are available on the Talent Development website. And I can show you where to find those really quickly. So you would go to My CPS, which I think you can see on my screen right now, I hope. You would scroll down to Talent Development. And here, you would select on the left-hand side the Talent Resources button. And you would find a really nice set of time management tools and resources folder where you can pull this very PowerPoint, you can pull the weekly plan template or the daily to-do list. So I want to make sure to orient you to that. Okay. So that was our big rocks, and I'd like you just to take a couple minutes now to to kind of reflect on what I just went through and think about tweaks or adjustments you might want to make to support your own ability to prioritize and track your big rocks and your to-dos. Take a few minutes to give those tools a test drive or to adjust your own daily or weekly planning document. I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes to set my timer to have a little work time. This is a workshop, and so I want to give you some active work time to apply the learnings. Okay, so take another couple of seconds to kind of make your tweaks or adjustments or get a new tool ready to test drive, and then we'll move on to our next section. All right, so we hit our big rocks and we talked about tools to track our to-dos. And that's all good and well, but I wonder how many of us might set those daily intentions, might set those weekly intentions. Maybe y'all are doing that already in your planners or on your Google Doc to-do list or however you like to do it. But then you find, and you can kind of thumbs up me if you would agree, maybe you find that the days kind of pass you by and you look back and you realize you didn't handle the big rocks. You didn't handle the little rocks. You ended up going down a whole nother road and none of that stuff got done. I'm seeing some thumbs up. So I want to give you some strategies to kind of support you in not just prioritizing and identifying your big rocks and tracking them, but actually making time to get them done. So this is a concept called Workbox, and I do this all the time on my Google Calendar. You might do it in a planner or your Google Calendar if you're more e-based. It's up to you. But what I like to do is take a look at my to-do list and then actually physically go into my calendar and schedule out when I'm going to do that work. Because if I don't put it on my calendar, y'all, it is not getting done. So if I know that I need to prep for something, update a doc, do whatever, I will even schedule in little 15 or 30-minute items on my calendar that align to my to-do list and my priorities. So I really offer that to you guys as a possible way to make sure that you're not just setting your intentions, but that you're able to schedule it out and get it done. And doing this, I would add, also gives you the opportunity to kind of check in and adjust along the way. When you find that you're being pulled into a new priority or a fire maybe cropped up that you need to address, it's perfectly okay to check in and adjust and rearrange priorities. But once it's on your calendar, y'all, you can move it to the next day, right? Or you can reschedule it. And so part of that check in and adjust is just having a mechanism by which to do that. And that's why I really love the calendar. Before I go forward, I also just like to say that it can be very helpful to allot yourself a few minutes at the end of the day to kind of go back and reflect on your daily to-do list, check in and adjust there, and make your plan for the next day. And that can kind of be a nice ritual to closing out your day, scheduling out your to-dos for the next day, and being able to kind of like wrap for the day. I think that really helps with sustainability, which we'll talk about in a minute. So just a question for you to reflect on is, how can you build in time to check in and adjust to your day or to your week? And where are the points where it makes sense to do that? And how can you create space for that in your own work? So this last piece of our training today is going to be about sustainability. And I first wanted to offer kind of a quote that's kind of counter to the whole idea of time management, just to kind of throw a wrench in our whole training today. This is from Adam Grant. He's a professor at Wharton Business School, and he does a podcast called Work Life, which I really love and I recommend. It's all about how to make work better. And he, in a piece that he wrote this quote here. It says, "I'm bad with time management, but great with attention management. If I'm choosing people and projects that matter to me, then it doesn't matter how long they take." And I thought this was really interesting. This is pulled from a whole article about how time management is a farce. And I hear what he's saying. I understand the concept here, which I'm sharing with you, that, when we're doing work that really matters to us, that we love, and I think most of us work at CPS because we're really drawn to the mission of this work and supporting our students and our teachers in achieving their dreams. But the concept that it doesn't always matter how long it takes might not be realistic in an environment where we have to be ready for the next bell. We have to be ready for students the next day, or we have deliverables that are due on a certain timeline. So I love Adam Grant's big idea here, and he has lots of great big ideas. So I just wanted to offer it to you that maybe the construct of time management in some instances isn't exactly a true construct, and maybe it is, but he certainly has a different lens on it. So for us, when we're working toward meeting our goals and our strategic objectives, and we are all laser focused on those, I think, and there's a lot of demands for many of us in our roles. Our sustainability can sometimes fall by the wayside, and we do talk a lot about self-care. I hear it a lot. But I really like this term of sustainability, because to me, that's about creating structures and supports for ourselves to sustain us in our work. And part of that might be taking care of our body. Part of that might be taking care of our spirit. At the end of the day, it's customized to each of us. It looks different for each of us. And no one can kind of prescribe what sustainability is for any of us. And I shared at the beginning of this talk that, when I was thinking about sustainability for me, it certainly looked different depending on the role or life stage that I'm in. So right when I was 25 and working till 7 or 8 o'clock at night at the office every day, that was a different sustainability plan for me than it is now when I have 2 small kids and different demands in my personal life. So I have to kind of rework my own time management and structures to support sustainability for me. So I challenge you to think about, what is sustainability to you right now, and how might that look different for you now than it might have at another time in your life. And so to think about that kind of as a more fluid thing than it has to be a certain way at a certain time all the time. And so on this topic of sustainability, I did want to share some really great tools that could be supportive to you. First of all, we have this fabulous meditation app through our partnership with Stacy Sims at The Well. It was created specifically for CPS employees, and it draws on the science of mindfulness. You can access it by clicking on this link, which you can access via the time management toolkit on the talent development page that I showed you earlier. Just to kind of give you a little tour of it, if you click the app, you'll be prompted to put in a password here, which is CPS Cares, all lowercase, CPS Cares. And then you can access all of the meditations. And the research shows us that, even just 3 minutes or so of mindfulness a day can have a huge impact on our well-being. I also wanted to call out Wellness Works, which is our partnership with TriHealth, and which really supports the physical well-being and mental well-being of our employees. And finally, our Employee Assistance Program, EAP, which is a wonderful benefit for all CPS employees via our benefits office. And if you visit, I'm going to show you here, there's a flyer here about EAP with key phone numbers and information to call, but you'll have up to 10 confidential sessions of counseling with a licensed mental health professional, just recognizing that sometimes we have stresses that really do need some extra support. So this is a great resource, and this information is available via the My CPS website and the benefits department. But I'll flash it here for just a minute in case you want to take a picture or jot something down. And then finally, talent development offers different opportunities to kind of draw on support from one another. We have Lean In circles and Dare to Lead book study groups using the work of Brene Brown, who's such an awesome author and speaker and expert on our leadership and how we kind of conduct ourselves in the workplace and in our personal lives. So we have these two opportunities, and more information is available on those on the talent development website, which I showed you earlier. And so with that, I just want to encourage you to commit to something before you leave here today. How are you going to adjust your prioritization? How are you going to make space to schedule, check in, and adjust? And how are you going to think about your sustainability in your role and what needs you have that you can tune into and start to address? And with that, I thank you so much for your time. I hope and wish for each of you excellent success with your work and your goals for this year. And I hope that some of these tools and strategies I've shared with you today on project management can be helpful. I invite you to complete the exit ticket, which is the link is available here. And again, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.